Welcome to the Mom Owned and Operated podcast, the podcast about moms and for moms, where we have candid conversations about running a business, raising a family, and remembering ourselves. I'm your host, Rita Suzanne, a single mom of four, digital strategist, and provider of no-nonsense business strategies and tactics. Hi, this is Mom Owned and Operated. I am Rita Suzanne, and today I have my guest Lindsay with me. Lindsay, I'm so excited to chat with you. Please tell everyone all about you, your business, and your family.
Yes, hello. I am so excited to be here today. My name is Lindsay Dollinger, and I am the podcast host of the Purpose, Profits, and Pixie Dust podcast, and a business coach for women specializing in productivity and systems without burning out in your business. So that's where like the magic and the pixie dust fun comes in. I live in Ohio, so middle of nowhere, Ohio, but I am in Orlando, Florida as much as I possibly can be because I am a Disney girl at heart. And I live with my sister and our street dog, Bella. She was a rescue dog from Puerto Rico. So she's our baby. I think she's probably more needy than a child, to be completely honest, but we love her. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
First of all, I did not know that you're in Ohio. I'm in Ohio. I'm in Columbus.
What?
Where are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm like 45 minutes from Columbus. I'm in Mechanicsburg. Have you heard of it before?
I've heard of it, but I haven't been there. So
okay.
Anyway.
Yeah,
we'll have
to chat more about that. I didn't know you were in Ohio either.
Yeah. Okay. So what's one service or product that you offer that has been a game changer for you?
Yeah. So that would be my mastermind that I started a year ago. And it's been a game changer on both financial levels and impact levels. I like to have a financial goal and an impact goal every year. And that has been able to really take my business to the next level in both accounts. And it's something that it took me a long time to finally get out there. I've been in a mastermind myself since late 2018, early 2019. And I had it all set up to launch in 2020, pre-pandemic. So I had no excuse. I can't like blame it on the pandemic or anything like that. I just got in my own mind about it. Same thing again, a couple years later, I did a membership in the meantime and courses and those sorts of things, but it was a huge mindset shift to be able to charge, higher ticket and also commit myself to those weekly calls was another thing. And it's so funny because, as a podcast host, you show up every week for your podcast. So I'm like, okay, if I can do that for my podcast, why can't I do that for, a program that I'm doing? But there was some mental block there. So yeah, mine has been my mastermind.
So is that your biggest source of revenue?
Yes. Biggest source of revenue is masterminds. Before that, it was one-on-one calls, but I've transitioned my one-on-one clients into the mastermind because it's a better deal for them financially and also support-wise all around. So I did start with one-on-ones as my highest revenue builder, but now it is the mastermind.
So is it a year-long mastermind or what is the structure? How does it work?
Yeah, so we run school year because I have found that a lot of my clients are mamas with school-age children, and they like the summers off, not necessarily summers completely off from their business, but summers off from the calls. Now, I still check in with my clients, especially my clients who have renewed for the next year. So we're getting ready to start, mid-August for the next round. But the summers, and just for me as well, summer's my favorite season. So I like to have a little bit more flexibility for travel and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I feel like as a mom business owner, it's the hardest time for any mom business owner to generate income because especially if your clients are other mom business owners, right? Because we're off running around, chasing your kids, regardless of how old they are. Okay, so what is the most valuable financial lesson that you've learned since you started your business? I didn't even ask you how long you've been in business.
Yeah, so I started in business online in 2016, and then my coaching business I started late 2019. So this current business is almost 5 years old. So as far as financial, I think one of the best financial decisions that I made was investing, and I'm not sure what you use, if you maybe use it too, is Kajabi. And it can have a pretty heavy price tag on it. I started with like the lowest level. I think I'm at the medium tier now, and I'm almost maxed out of that one too. So I'll be going to the next. But even now, when that receipt comes through every month of my monthly payment, I'm like, ooh, that's kind of high. However, everything that I use is on there. So I have my email platform on there, website, my products and courses. You can host a podcast now on there. I don't. And you can also host a membership on there now. And I don't host my membership currently in the membership platform because my people use Facebook. But I love that it is an option for if something happens to Facebook, if something in that realm changes, or if I start getting a lot of clients who don't have Facebook, I might transition into Kajabi. But I think looking back, I'm so glad I started that when I did, because before I used Kajabi, I used Bluehost and I was doing WordPress and coding and these things that were, one, very difficult for me. So I was spending a lot of time learning how to do it. But two, when I did decide to transition over, it took me a lot of time to transition my content over. And so now looking back in the last 5 years of all the content I've put on Kajabi, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't leave now. Like it would take me so long, you know what I mean, to move all that stuff over. So I'm glad that I made the transition and started planning ahead for my business growing as early as I did, because it would be a total hassle right now to do that, to be completely honest.
Yeah. So I started out like a designing and developing, and I do everything on WordPress, right? And so I'm a firm believer in utilizing WordPress only because you have complete like ownership of it. However, I do see the benefit of using something like Kajabi because, like you mentioned, it stops you from having those hurdles, right? Those tech hurdles can really impair business owners. And I see a lot of coaches using Kajabi. And so my thought on it is really like use whatever is going to work for you.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And if that is not WordPress, that's fine. Use whatever, especially if it's going to not stop you from doing what you have to do. So let's talk a little bit about marketing. So what is one marketing tactic or channel that you recommend that other mompreneurs jump into?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things for my business this past year is I've been really focusing on visibility, and not just visibility on my own social media platforms, but it's been creating a strategy where I can really utilize other people as much as possible. So the top thing for me this year has been being a speaker in summits or contributing an item of something that I have to a bundle. And I actually hosted my own summit in February, and I'm wrapping up hosting my first bundle as well. It's been a really great learning experience for me on both accounts. I learn a lot about honestly just dealing with other women entrepreneurs too, and knowing, like, I kind of assumed that when I gave people a deadline, they would follow it. It wouldn't be like, teaching in the classroom where you have to remind people all the time. And I'm like, adults are just as bad as kids, right? They're just as bad as high school students. So that part has been a little bit of a challenge, but as far as me getting in front of new audiences and growing my list, like this month alone, I think I've had over 1,000 new email subscribers. And I'm like, holy cow, this is blowing my mind. So, not being afraid to try some of those things that maybe seem out of reach, or like you're not an expert enough yet to do it. My thing is, as long as you have had success, whatever that means, like for you, and you feel comfortable in teaching a topic to someone else, like do it. Why not? Right. So getting strategic about that has been my number one best marketing strategy this year.
I think some people get apprehensive about figuring out how to create collaborations with other people. So do you have any advice on how they could do that?
Yeah. So honestly, I started with getting in Facebook groups. I can't think of exact names of them off the top of my head, but if you just search collaboration, entrepreneurs, or summits, bundles, those type of keywords, you'll get into some of those Facebook groups. And so I jumped into some of these Facebook groups. I didn't immediately volunteer for anything or apply for anything. I kind of wanted to get the vibe and see how, what my options were, what people were presenting, those sorts of things. And then once I decided to start applying for some of these, I knew that I wanted to keep an open mind. Like, not everyone's going to say yes to you, right? So there are some things that you're not a good fit for at this time. That's fine. And so I just started applying, and my biggest tip for when you apply is really look at what the requirements are, because some people will want you to email your list a certain amount of times, social posts a certain amount of times, things like that. And making sure that you can fulfill those and you feel comfortable fulfilling those. But other than that, I started there. And then I also started with my own networks. So I'm in a mastermind myself. I've met people at conferences and things like that over the years. So reaching out to them personally and saying, hey, I'd love to collab, give them some ideas. So would you be open to a Facebook Live? Would you be open to, I've done a freebie swap on emails before, which is kind of a fun strategy if you haven't tried that before. Podcast guest swap, different things like that. Give them some ideas, and also they'll be open to or if you have a different thing in mind, let's chat. And I would say 90% of people say yes. Every once in a while, you'll get someone who says no, or, they're in the middle of a launch. It doesn't make sense right now, which is totally fine. I get that. But usually I have found our community of women entrepreneurs specifically are very open to doing that because, I pat your back, you pat mine, right? That sort of thing. And we were talking about this before we hopped on here about, my people, some of my people might be your people, some of your people might be my people, vice versa. You're going to, no matter what, attract the right people to you. So going over, that mindset of collaboration over competition, I think is a huge reminder, no scarcity around here. We're both going to help each other out. So just for it, see what happens.
Right. I think that people need to understand that there are enough clients for everyone, right?
Yes.
We don't need to have a Hunger Games over clients.
Yes, that's such a good analogy. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about mistakes that maybe you've made in marketing over the years. Do you have any to share?
Yeah. So one I was actually just talking about with someone yesterday is launching a product and thinking everyone's going to buy it, but yet you haven't been either showing up online regularly or teasing your audience a little bit about, you're not warming them up to it. And then you have a quote unquote failed launch, you didn't sell as many or maybe even at all. And then you're blaming the product. But so much of that is the marketing leading up to it. And, depending on what you've got going on in life. I also did a launch one time when I was on vacation. I'm like, horrible time to do a launch. I don't recommend doing that if you don't have to. And so, just using all of those quote unquote failed experiences to really look back and say, okay, why did this fail? Is it the product? Because sometimes maybe it could be. But a lot of the times I feel like it's, again, that lack of visibility or the lack of strategic marketing on your part where you could have given yourself, a 2-month runway. And instead you started talking about it the day you open cart and people aren't ready to buy yet.
Yeah. Or oftentimes, and this is like a huge buzzword right now, like your messaging is off, I think that's often the times like you could be talking about it, but people are still like, they don't understand what it is you're even pumping up. So that's usually a thing. So how are you currently marketing your business?
Ooh, good question. I have a lot of irons in the fire with marketing my business. I send out regular emails, so anywhere between 3 to 5 a week. I host my own free events. I try to do them monthly. I had a bad accident in April and broke my leg and ankle, and it was just all kinds of things. So April, May, even June was very much me just like survival mode. But I'm back at it now in July. But I like to run monthly free events. And those monthly free events, I have affiliates and good clients help me promote. So I have a strategy with that, with making sure that people share it and incentivize so that I'm able to keep growing my audience. But because I have the marketing strategy in the back end of, podcast guesting, getting in summits, getting in bundles, my email list is always growing. So I feel like there's always new people coming in to those free events. So then they get to know me really well. Regular podcast hosting and guesting as well. So like I said, my show drops every Monday. So my podcast listeners know that, they're getting that nurturing through there as well. I have a free Telegram channel. It's something I started this summer that one of my mentors uses. And I really am loving that too, because I feel like I can be a little more intimate there versus Facebook group, Facebook post, although I do have a Facebook group. And then just showing up on social as well. But really what ends up converting people for me, and I was just talking to my coach about this, is the in-person connections, having conversations with people. If I can get people on Zoom calls to have, even if it's networking, I do a happily ever happy hour virtually in the summer. That's been a great way to get to really know people. And I host a yearly retreat, and most people who come to my retreat end up joining my mastermind. And I need to strategically place that better next year, because my yearly retreat this year is in October. I did that because of my fall. But last year, my retreat was the first or second week in July. And then I opened up doors to my mastermind, and everyone who went to the retreat but one person joined my mastermind. So that's what I'm trying to figure out from the marketing strategy. I'm like, okay, if I know that if people get to really know me, they end up converting. So how can I create more opportunities, even if it's not in person, which I love in person, but sometimes, that doesn't work. How can I mimic that online virtually to get people into my programs?
So all of that marketing strategy just sounds like a lot of stuff. How are you doing all of those things without becoming overwhelmed?
Because I repurpose a ton.
Right. Because I'm like, if somebody's hearing that and you're listing off all of these things, they're probably like, oh shit.
Yeah. Well, okay. First of all, let me also point out that I've been in business for multiple years, so like my marketing strategy did not start off like this. Right. It definitely started out social media posts. I've been doing the in-person quote unquote, but like the virtual events online pretty much since I started. But they weren't always once a month. It might've been once a quarter. And then the email list as well started out with a consistent Monday email. And then it has added, it has grown as time goes on. But as far as keeping it all organized, I'm a huge fan of templates. So like I have, I think 6 or 8 email templates saved in Kajabi that I'll just pull up. So my Monday email template, pull it up, and it's easy. It's almost like plug and play. I also know in my Monday email, I'm always going to talk about my podcast. So templates for things really help. I have a Trello board that is very extensive. And if you look at it right now, you would be like, oh my gosh, Lindsay, I don't know how your brain works. I'm glad this works for you. But I list everything out on there, to plan things, drag and drop to keep things organized, which I really, really love. But then I also have a lot of different, I don't know if you call them software, but like I used a script. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I have.
For some AI for my podcast. So it helps me pull out and create a blog post outline so that I can, easily do that. So I'm always trying to use what I can, while also, like we were talking about before we hopped on here, saving money and trying to figure out what makes sense and what doesn't for, getting help in my business. But I also did hire a social media manager and some website help recently. So that has helped as well, like, with the back end of taking some of those things off that I don't have to be doing.
Right.
So I can show up, on the in-person events, for example. Like that was one of the things, is the time and the energy to prepare for those events when I know that those are the way that I convert. So I'm like, okay, this is like my number one priority. So how can I take some of these things that I don't have to be the one doing and find someone to help me with that? So that's been a big game changer too recently.
Right. So delegation and repurposing are huge, and just being organized and creating a content calendar and of sorts, and just kind of organizing everything. I think that's so crucial. I think that a lot of people are just super reactive when it comes to their social media, and then they don't really know what to post, and so then they don't post. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how do you define success in your business? Is it purely financial, or are there other factors that are maybe more important to you?
Yeah, so mine's definitely twofold. Like I mentioned with my goals, I feel like I measure success in the same way. So I say my mission is to help over 100 women every year transform their business so they can transform their life. So I have that impact goal, but then I also have the financial goal as well. And it's almost like trying to balance the two, because at the end of the day, and I'm sure you've experienced this as well, like the money is great, but if I don't feel aligned with my programs or with the people that I'm helping, it doesn't really matter as much to me. You're not going to feel that fulfillment like you would when you're really seeing people transform their lives. So I think having the impact goal is something really important too.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of women have that focus, like they really need to empower others in order to feel fulfilled in their
Yeah.
business. I mean, financial is there, but that
Yep.
need to empower others is kind of the underlying thing. So
Hmm.
you already mentioned Descript and Trello and some other tools, but is there one tool or app that you use that's kind of streamlining your life that you can recommend to all of us?
Yeah, it's gonna have to be Trello. I know I already mentioned it. I should have saved it in my back pocket, but yeah, it's gonna be Trello. I have, and the best part is I have used the free version of Trello until like 2 months ago, and the only reason I upgraded was because I sell templates now for my business, and they took away that from the free version. I'm like, no, but you can use the free version of Trello and get everything that you need for your business. And I have, I think, 30 boards on there now. I make a board for every program, and it just works for me because I love sticky notes too. So
Mhm.
this is a place I can put my virtual sticky notes. But I know it's not for everyone. So if it's not for you, check out Notion or ClickUp, Asana, all of those. I know different people who
Logic.
use all of them. Yeah, yeah, all of them are great in their own ways. So if you're listening to this and you try out Trello and it doesn't work for you, then try out another one, but find something like that that works for you. Cause like you said, if you're not taking the time to plan, you're going to sit down to work that day. And that's what was happening to me in my business. And I'm like, oh, I really should, gosh, I don't even know. I really should make a new website page. But
Mhm.
that wasn't actually the thing that was making me money. So this is allowing me to organize myself well so that I do the important things first. And then I have my parking lot. I call it my parking lot of ideas, that when I have some free time, I can drag something off that and start working on it. And that's also really cleared up a lot of my headspace too. You're not worrying about constantly like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. What should I be doing? If you
Right.
take that time to organize, write everything down, you should be golden.
I love that. I just last week or the week before, I created a freebie and I was posting, making reels, talking about, are you really marketing? Right. Because
Mm,
I feel like a lot of times mom business owners will say, oh my gosh, I'm so busy. Right. I'm so busy.
yeah.
I'm doing these things. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And they're not really marketing or driving any leads into their business because they're too
Yep.
busy doing the busy work. So you're
Yeah.
busy, but you're not being effective.
Yep.
And so, I was like, I really honing in on that because I feel like that's where a lot of mom business owners get really, really stuck in
Oh,
their,
yeah.
in their business and especially with moving forward. So I love that you brought that up. So what are you reading or listening to right now? It can be business or professional.
Okay. I am reading Mind Magic right now. I don't know if you've heard of it. I should have looked at the author because it's sitting over there before I hopped on here. But I have been using a lot of different NLP um, tactics and visualizing and things in my business very hardcore the last year. And it has helped me so much I just have realized that when I have my mind in the right place, when I actually do believe truly that everything that I am going after is possible, you show up differently. It's not a quote unquote chore anymore for you to make your to do list or to spend some time in a training or things like that. That before, when there's that little bit of doubt, like, okay, is my business actually going to make it? Is, whatever, then I found that you burn out quicker or you dread doing some of the stuff. But when you actually believe in yourself and in your mission and what you're going after and that it is possible for you, it transforms the way you show up. So I've been digging deep into that. I really am loving that book so far. And I love that I'm able then to take what I'm learning and apply it to, share that stuff with my clients. And then they're able to run with it too. So that's what I'm really loving.
I love it. Okay, so I love to talk about self-care as like my final like wrap up question because, as moms, as business owners, we often neglect ourselves. So what are you doing for you?
Ooh, I love this. So I just got cleared today to get back on my Peloton bike, which I am thrilled about. Um, so the thing that I do for me, and it also really helps me, I don't know, like get the negative energy out, not worry about things for a half an hour is to hop on my bike. So I make that a routine. I figured out that you can actually schedule your classes in the app like the week before. So then it goes to your calendar and you know that you're actually like, it's a scheduled appointment. And I make sure to do that because I found out when I didn't, I was getting shorter with people, like my energy was shifting. And so I love to do that before I sit down to record a podcast or go live or anything, because it just pumps my energy up. So get some movement in. That would be my suggestion.
I love that. I'm the same way. So I go to the gym 5 or 6 days a week, but if it wasn't for my best friend like pushing me to go, I probably would skip half of the time because I get so wrapped up in business, and then I become the biggest grouch, right? Because I'm like, I need to get out of here. There's so much pressure and so much things going on, and just even leaving and going to the gym just helps me to just relax. I socialize. I'm not thinking about business most of the time, so it definitely helps clear my mind and my stress. And I was telling somebody the other day, and I want to just kind of reiterate and just like put this out there because it was one of the best things that I ever used to do. My first coach, she used to tell me to do this thing called active meditation. And since you're kind of into these type of things, I'm going to recommend it because what it is so let's say that you're working on a specific project or something that you're really focused on and you are just kind of stuck on it. So you are thinking about it, you get on your Peloton, you're just going for it. And the whole time you're just really super focused on it while you're working out. And then once you get off, you get your journal out or whatever piece of paper, and you just start making notes on whatever is going on, and you just kind of free flow it out. And it just helps you to kind of release whatever you were working on and help you get past whatever was that sticking point for you. And that used to help me get past so many things because one, you're focused on it, but you're also being active simultaneously. Yeah. So your movement helps you get past it. And so that's a great.
I love that. Yeah. I actually, so funny story really quickly. My idea for my membership. So my membership that I have is like Disney themed. So I think I kind of did this that time because I was on the bike doing a Disney ride, sometimes I do Disney rides. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to make it. So I was voice recording while I was doing this workout of like all these ideas. I'm like, we're going to have a monthly magical meetup and we're going to do this and this. And like, I stopped off that bike and I wrote down all these ideas, and it to this day has been like my best idea like brainstorming session ever. So I need to do that more for sure. I didn't know it was called active meditation, but I love that.
I think she coined it, but it was definitely like, that was something that she did. And I thought, I don't even know what triggered it the other day, but I was like, I need to start doing that again. Yeah. Because it just came back to me, and I thought it would be something that you might enjoy. Okay. So where are you online? Are you like, what platforms are you at, and where can everyone find you?
Yeah, I think I'm on almost all of the platforms. I'm not active on Threads though, but you can find me. I hang out a lot on Facebook. I actually do a lot of my business, everything on Facebook, and it's kind of my preferred platform. So you can find me over there as Lindsay Dollinger. Instagram, it's a long story, but my Lindsay Dollinger Instagram is not up anymore. But I am active at The Purpose, Profits, and Pixie Dust on Instagram. That's the name of my podcast as well. So you can find me over there. You can find me on LinkedIn, Lindsay Dollinger, TikTok, YouTube, all those places, Pinterest, all under Lindsay Dollinger. And I think I'm the only one. I don't think there's another one. So hopefully there's no one impersonating me, but should be the only one.
And I'll put the links and everything will be in the description. And thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, I love this. And we're going to have to connect with, since we're local. I can't believe this. This is so great.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you again.
And there you have it. I want to encourage you to remember that being a mom who runs her own business is not easy. We all struggle, but just keep moving forward and don't forget to make time for yourself. As moms, we are usually the first thing to go to the bottom of the list. If your business is overwhelming you and you need real solutions, not just some sugar-coated suggestions, apply to work with me at ritasuzanne.com/apply.